Hello and welcome to Matrix Live. Today my guests are the creators of Threematrix, the bridge between Matrix and Threema. In a previous Matrix Live, we talked with Halfshot about oxidizing some bridges, which means converting some bits of existing TypeScript bridges into Rust. But Threematrix is the first bridge I'm aware of that is 100% written in Rust. Let's get started immediately. Can you tell us a bit more about yourselves? Who are you and how did you end up playing with Matrix in the first place?
Sure. I guess I'll go first. Hi, my name is Moritz. I'm a software developer from Hamburg, Germany. I'm typically I work in freelance projects, full stack developer, and I met Fabian during college, during university studies. We both studied here in Hamburg, technical computer science. I guess it's a very low level computer science degree. That's where we know each other from. Fabio, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Fabian, and I'm a software developer as well. And I'm working at the lawyer council and do like software automation, process automation, stuff like that for a living. And do like bridges stuff in my free time.
All right. You told me when we were preparing the episode that you had a short demo of Threematrix. Can we see how it looks like in practice?
Yeah,
Sure. I think it's always important to see these things working because they are so theoretical and sometimes might be even considered boring. But it's important to have something visual to see that it actually works.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Great. So I got Element, obviously, with our Threematrix test room, and I got Threema with our Threematrix test group. And I'm just gonna to write some stuff. And as you can see, the bot is transmitting our text to Matrix and the other way. So yeah, right now only text messages are supported, and but you can bind like as many rooms as you want. So you can bind maybe 3 matrix rooms to one Threema group, or you can bind like multiple Threema groups to multiple matrix rooms.
All right. This reminds me a little of the Telegram bridge, which is a relaybot sort of bridge. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, I'm wondering, why did you create Threematrix in the first place?
So I guess the motivation came from our free time. We're both Fabian and I. We're actively running a makerspace here in the city of Hamburg, and we built our community mostly on Threema, just because historically, a couple of years ago, it seemed like a very good idea, and it still is and was a good idea. But we're growing and growing and growing, and now there's 70 people, and these Threema groups get kind of messy, and we would like to kind of branch out into topical groups or have something like a room directory, stuff like that Threema cannot offer. And so I thought about moving the club or our people over to Matrix, but then again, I know some people who are in our club or in our makerspace are kind of old, not very tech savvy, and they might still have their doubts or problems with Element. I mean, it's complex app. You kind of need to know Slack a little or something if you want to feel very you want to know Element and everything. So I thought, hey, let's maybe wait a while before we move everything to Element, but how about we start bridging to Threema or Threema and Element first, so people who want to use Element can use Element, and people who don't want to use it, they can still keep with their very simple Threema app messenger. So that was the idea why we started this, and then I was kind of like, hey, there must be something already, right? Matrix has been bridged to everything. So I couldn't believe that there was no Threema bridge yet, especially since, or I guess one of the reasons might be that Threema only kind of recently, I guess maybe 2 years ago or something, announced that they were going open source. Before that, they were closed source, so I can understand why there was no bridge before that. But since they open sourced their code, I think there must be somebody who already did that, but there wasn't. And then we kind of set out to do it. And I guess now we're finally there. I mean, at least it's working in its basic form.
Yeah, you touched a very important point about bridges. I think that's one of the key strengths of Matrix and what makes adoption that easy. With my GNOME hat on, we used to be a community that was on IOC, and I know if it wasn't for the bridges, Matrix would probably not have gotten this sort of traction as we have today, because it's quite the opposite view. There were very technical people, but also very used to their environment. And Bridges allowed us to open up to newcomers, all while keeping the existing historical contributors. So I can definitely relate to that story. When browsing the GitHub repository, I saw a fair amount of warnings in the README of the project. What are the major ones?
Well, I guess there's one or many people. The feedback that we get from people that we've been talking to is that there's currently one big caveat about the bridge. It's that it's currently using the what's called the Threema Gateway API, which is a paid API product that Threema offers. And this is the API that we're currently using for this bridge. The downside of this is that the pricing model of this Threema product is not very well or isn't a very good fit for a messenger bridge, because it requires a sign-up fee, which is currently around 60 something euro, which is quite high for, I guess, a hobbyist project. And then also messages are being paid per message. So every message that you send or receive will cost you a little fee in terms of credits. And for a messenger bridge, sometimes you cannot control how many messages you receive or you send out. You might bridge a big group message, and then people write a lot, so you obviously cannot control the cost. So this is one of the big problems right now, or why this bridge might not be as attractive as it could be right now. But then again, we talked to Threema. We told them this, and they understood the problem, and they said that they did not really consider messenger bridges up until now. So the pricing model is geared towards enterprises, towards automation use, and stuff like that, where cost is not a big issue. And so they said maybe they can come up, or maybe we can come up with a pricing model that works for bridge users in the future. But they were just very receptive towards the idea, and we hope that we can find a solution that works for both. And another thing I would like to say, because the feedback we got often was like, why don't you just go ahead and implement the client? I mean, the client is open source. We could just implement the bridge as a regular client app and only pay the amount that Threema costs in the App Store, which is like €3 or €4 or something like that. The thing is, Threema is an open source project, and we kind of like it that way, and we don't want to ruin their business model, or we would like to find a solution where they can make money with this and keep making money. And a messenger bridge is definitely a different use case than a client app. With a client app, there's only so much messages you can send with your two thumbs, right? You cannot make automations with it, nothing. The bridge enables all of that, and we're still using Threema's infrastructure. I mean, even if the apps are open source, we're still using their servers and their infrastructure. So I think it's fair to pay them a certain amount of money, more than maybe the client app, but hopefully not as much as the current gateway pricing model. So that's kind of what we're hoping for in the future.
Really, I'm pleasantly surprised by that answer. There is more than tech to this project. You really want to make it sustainable, which includes being fair to the provider.
Exactly. It's open source. I mean, we as a community, sustaining or financially making open source projects that are sustainable is so hard, and so I think it's not a good idea to step on each other's business models and just be like, hey, I mean, probably we can do it. Yeah, probably, or we're not sure if legally we could just build a client implementation. Maybe there's something in the terms and conditions that would avoid this, but maybe we could. But then again, it would not. I think it wouldn't be the best idea, because the interest of both parties should be that open source can survive and can be sustainable. And so we need to. I guess we should be able to find a business model that pays for their infrastructure and that helps them to keep this running for years in the future.
Talking of sustainability and business model, who funds Threematrix, and is it financially sustainable today?
Oh, that's a complicated stuff because yeah, like there's I don't know how to say that. There's like a public foundation, the Prototype Fund, and yeah, we put our project, our idea to them and said, yeah, do you like to fund this? And they said yes. So it's like a little bit like saying the government is funding us to make this open source code, and but this is just a time project. So we got like 6 months or something, and we get paid for that, and for programming the software. And after that, we are gonna. Well, we think it should live like a normal open source project. So just for yeah, hobbyists and guys with free time, they can contribute. We're gonna review the contributions and gonna support like maybe new features as much as we got free time.
Yeah, the idea is that we might reach a state where this is complete, feature complete, and there doesn't need to be a lot of money sustaining it.
Yeah.
We hope that the protocol stays consistent, so hopefully there will only be a little bit of maintenance work here and there, but in general, we would like to reach a state where this doesn't need a lot of funding in the future. And just one thing to add there, we're not running this as a service. So we are not a software as a service provider where you can use this bridge, because legally that would be very complicated, especially in Germany. We'd rather stay away from that. So we are only providing the software as source code, and everybody needs to run this themselves, which obviously then will cost you money for service and everything, but we don't have that kind of cost. So hope is that it's sustainable, yes, because it doesn't need a lot of money in the future.
Right, the prototype fund is something I'm already familiar with. I think Conduit, the Rust home server, was partially funded by the prototype fund. There is AGI also, if I remember correctly, a European grant program for open source for a better and more open internet that is running several programs, grant programs for open source projects. So if you have a Matrix project and you want to get it funded, you should look in that direction. You mentioned that it's not yet feature complete. So I was going to ask, is it production ready already?
Defining what you mean with production ready. Like for private use, I would say yes. So if you got like in our case a club or something like that, and you want just to bridge text messages, so people can use Matrix and Threema as well and can communicate. We think yes, but we didn't test it that much because it's really hard to test. You need a big infrastructure. You need like server with callback address and stuff like that to test it. And we didn't, or we haven't tested it now for a long time usage. If you are like a big company and you want to use it like you need it, and yeah, you lose a lot of money if it doesn't work, then I think you shouldn't use it because yeah, like I said, it's an early version, alpha, and yeah, yeah, you should test it first.
Are you willing to provide paid support for it? For example, if some company was interested in getting more testing and more features added to Matrix, would you be offering paid support or professional services?
I guess in general, yes, but we haven't really talked about it. As I said, this also kind of has an aspect of a Threema's business model. We haven't intended the bridge for business use or professional use. So I don't know. We haven't really thought about it. But I guess yes, if somebody were to want to use this commercially, we would obviously talk to them. But I guess we would also need to talk to Threema and see, how the pricing model, how that works out. I guess with the current pricing model, it would be doable, yes. But if we finally come to an agreement with Threema regarding a kind of hobbyist, cheaper pricing model, then using that as in a business use case probably wouldn't be very fair towards Threema, I guess.
Getting back to a more technical area, I can see on the repository that Threematrix is 100% Rust, when most of the bridges I'm used to are, for the most of them, TypeScript bridges, relying on the MatrixBot SDK. Here, did you rely on the Matrix Rust SDK, and was it easy or difficult to create the bridge?
Yeah, basically we are just using the Matrix Rust SDK, as you said, and basically it wasn't that hard. I think Rust is a pretty new programming language, like in the development, and there's like stuff like this async await programming stuff that is didn't quite well documented it. So yeah, like the async documentation or as well the Matrix SDK documentation got some room for improvements, I think. But I think Rust is a pretty good programming language, pretty easy to learn, and the Rust SDK, the Matrix SDK is using all paradigms that Rust gives them. So yeah, we didn't got any big problems.
But the thing that we should say is we didn't know any Rust before this project.
Yeah, sure.
So it was our start into the Rust world. That took us a lot of time. As we said, we got a 6-month funding period, and I don't know, it took us 2 months of reading just to get up to speed in Rust. Thankfully, I guess, because of our university background in computer science, we can adapt to new languages pretty fast. But still, it was challenging to get up to speed with Rust in general, not the Matrix SDK or something. But yeah, it was a big learning project for us, and it still is. So if somebody looks at the code and is like, "Hey, horrible Rust that you write there," feel free to open a pull request or educate us on that. We'd like to get better with it.
That's crazy. Yes, Rust is a very good language. So some people call it punitive because the compiler shouts at you when you make a single silly mistake. But it's actually pretty safe because it's better to have the compiler shouting at you when you do something when creating the code than at runtime. I'm quite impressed that you didn't know any Rust and still got started with the Matrix Rust SDK because, as you said, it's quite feature heavy, which can be a bit overwhelming for newcomers. So impressed. Congratulations on that.
Well, also part of the reason why we choose Rust was because we had good SDKs for both sides of the project. Because we have the Threema side and we have a Matrix side, and we knew that the Matrix side is very community driven, and there's many SDKs out there in all different languages. But on the Threema side, as Threema only recently open sourced their code, there's still very little community efforts to kind of connect to Threema. So we were dependent on their official SDKs that they offer, and Rust was one of them that was the best SDKs that we looked at. It was most feature complete. That they have a very good Rust developer who we also contacted, who works at Threema, who helped us a lot, and who maintains this Threema Rust SDK in, I guess, partly his free time. And that was also a blessing because we had 2 SDKs that were mostly feature complete. On the Threema SDK, we needed to add some functionality that was not in the SDK. And we're also planning to upstream that and to contribute it back to the Threema SDK. But on the Rust, on the Matrix side, everything was there. So it was mostly a question of connecting to SDKs and then adding some functionality on the side.
Awesome. We said earlier that Threematrix is a relaybot kind of bridge, so you have a user impersonating others while posting messages on behalf of others. There are other kinds of bridges supported on Matrix, including the puppeted bridges. Is it something you plan to turn Threematrix into in the future? Do you have a roadmap or some features you'd like to add?
Short answer, yes. So yeah, we got a roadmap. Like yeah, puppeteering is one of the main points that we want to implement. It's like we think it's not easy to do on the Threema side. So on the Threema side, it's gonna to be a basic relay bot because at the gateway API you cannot produce as many yeah, like puppets or accounts as you want. You got only one account per gateway API key. So yeah, we think that's not really yeah gonna function. But on the Matrix side, yeah, we looked at the API and we already talked about it and put it on the roadmap, as well as images as message type. So yeah, that's another big point we gonna see hopefully at the next version. And yeah, after that we will see how much time we got left for our or from our foundation and how much the community likes the stuff. So we are just looking how much people gonna use it. Is it something that is useful basically and needs improvements, or is it just like yeah, two people kind of like it but never in production?
Right. You told me earlier that you were open to getting pull requests if somebody spotted something nasty in the code or just wanted to see a little improvement in the code. So you are open to third-party contributions in terms of code. Are you looking for partnerships maybe, or for other kinds of contributions, translations? I don't know. Anything else?
I guess there's very little that we actually need. I mean, in terms of translations, there's nothing that the bridge has no user interface or something that needs to be translated. But yeah, we're always looking for help. I mean, we are being funded by the government in in the end it's through a third party, but the money comes from the German government, and one of the criteria is open source software, and obviously, so we want to do open source. So this is not pseudo open source. We really want to do open source. So if there's contributions or stuff that you don't like or stuff that you want to change, go ahead. This is what we're building it for. So this is supposed to be an open source project, and of course, we will accept contributions or help any way we can get it.
Great. Any final thoughts to conclude the episode?
I guess just we hope people try to use it. I know that currently there's still, as I said, the big caveat of the pricing model, but we still hope that people are giving this a try because we need feedback, because maybe we didn't think of stuff or we didn't anticipate any use cases. So we're thankful for everyone who tries this out, even if they don't use it in production. Everyone who gives it a try would be very much appreciated.
Yeah. And yeah, we would be happy if you give us feedback as well.
Okay, so pull requests welcome and issues welcome. Thank you very much to both of you. It's been very pleasant to see Threematrix as a brand new project, completely rest. I'm excited to see where it's going, and I see you around Matrix Live. See you next week. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.